All right, we are in Hebrews chapter 1. Elohim, having of old spoken in many portions and many ways to the fathers by the prophets, has in these last days spoken to us by the Son, whom he has appointed heir of all, through whom also he made the ages, who being the brightness of the esteem and the exact representation of his substance, and sustaining all by the word of his power, having made a cleansing of our sins through himself, sat down at the right hand of the greatness on high, having become so much better than the messengers, as he has inherited a more excellent name than them. For to which of the messengers did he ever say, "You are my son, today I have brought you forth"? And again, I shall be to him a father, and he shall be to me a son. And when he again brings the firstborn into the world, he says, "Let all the messengers of Elohim do reverence to him." And of the messengers indeed he says, "Who is making his messengers spirits and his servants a flame of fire?" But to the Son he says, "Your throne, O Elohim, is forever and ever. A scepter of straightness is the scepter of your reign. You have loved righteousness and hated lawlessness. Because of this, Elohim, your Elohim, has anointed you with the oil of gladness more than your companions. And you, Master, did found the earth in the beginning, and the heavens are the work of your hands. They shall perish, but you remain, and they shall all grow old like a garment, and like a mantle you shall fold them up, and they shall be changed. But you are the same, and your years shall not fail. And to which of the messengers did he ever say, "Sit at my right hand, until I make your enemies a footstool for your feet"? Are they not all serving spirits sent out to attend those who are about to inherit deliverance? Chapter 2. Because of this, we have to pay more attention to what we have heard, lest we drift away. For if the word spoken through messengers proved to be firm, and every transgression and disobedience received a right reward, how shall we escape if we neglect so great a deliverance, which first began to be spoken by the Master, and was confirmed to us by those that heard? Elohim also, bearing witness both with signs and wonders, with various miracles and gifts of the set-apart Spirit, distributed according to his own desire. For it is not to messengers that he has subjected the world to come, concerning which we speak, but somewhere one has witnessed, saying, "What is man that you remember him, or the Son of Man that you look after him? You have made him a little lower than Elohim. You have crowned him with esteem and respect, and set him over the works of your hands. You have put all in subjection under his feet. For in that he put all in subjection under him, he left none that is not subjected to him. But now we do not yet see all subjected to him. But we do see him who was made for a little while lower than the messengers, Yeshua, because of the suffering of death, crowned with esteem and respect, that by the favor of Elohim he should taste death for everyone. For it was fitting for him, because of whom all are, and through whom all are, in bringing many sons to esteem, to make the prince of their deliverance perfect through sufferings. For both he who sets apart and those who are being set apart are all of one, for which reason he is not ashamed to call them brothers, saying, "I shall announce your name to my brothers. In the midst of the congregation I shall sing praise to you. And again I shall put my trust in him. And again see I and the children whom Elohim gave me. Therefore, since the children share in the flesh and blood, he himself similarly shared in the same, so that by means of his death he might destroy him having the power of death, that is, the devil, and deliver those who throughout life were held in slavery by fear of death. For doubtless he does not take hold of messengers, but he does take hold of the seed of Abraham. So in every way he had to be made like his brothers in order to become a compassionate and trustworthy high priest in matters related to Elohim, to make atonement for the sins of the people. For in what he had suffered himself being tried, he is able to help those who are tried. Chapter 3. Therefore, set apart, brothers, partakers of the heavenly calling, closely consider the emissary and high priest of our confession, Messiah Yeshua, who is trustworthy to him, who appointed him, as also Moshe in all his house. For this one has been deemed worthy of more esteem than Moshe, as much as he who built the house enjoys more respect than the house. For every house is built by someone, but he who built all is Elohim. And Moshe indeed was trustworthy in all his house as a servant, for a witness of what would be spoken later. But Messiah as a son over his own house, whose house we are, if we hold fast the boldness and the boasting of the expectation firm to the end. Therefore, as the set-apart Spirit says today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion, in the day of trial in the wilderness, where your fathers tried me, proved me, and saw my works 40 years. Therefore I was grieved with that generation, and said, they always go astray in their heart, and they have not known my ways. As I swore in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. Look out, brothers, lest there be in any of you a wicked heart of unbelief and falling away from the living Elohim. But encourage one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened by the deliverableness of sin, or the deceivableness of sin. For we have become partakers of the Messiah if we hold fast the beginning of our trust firm to the end. While it is said, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts as in the rebellion. For who having heard rebelled? Was it not all who came out of Mitzrayim led by Moshe? And with whom was he grieved 40 years? Was it not with those who sinned, whose corpses fell in the wilderness? And to whom did he swear that they would not enter into his rest? But to those who did not obey. So we see that they were unable to enter in because of unbelief. Chapter 4. Therefore, since a promise remains of entering into his rest, let us fear, lest any of you seem to have come short of it. For indeed the good news was brought to us as well as to them, but the word which they heard did not profit them, not having been mixed with belief in those who heard it. For we who have believed do enter into that rest, as he has said, as I swore in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. And yet his works have come into being from the foundation of the world. For somewhere he has said thus about the seventh day, and Elohim rested on the seventh day from all his works. And in this again, if they shall enter into my rest. Since then it remains for some to enter into it, and those who formerly received the good news did not enter in because of disobedience. He again defines a certain day, today, saying through David so much later, as it has been said, today if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Yeshua had given them rest, he would not have spoken of another day after that. So there remains a Sabbath keeping for the people of Elohim. For the one having entered into his rest has himself also rested from his works, as Elohim rested from his own. Let us therefore do our utmost to enter into that rest, lest anyone fall under the same example of disobedience. For the word of Elohim is living and working and sharper than any two-edged sword, cutting through even to the dividing of being and spirit, and of joints and marrow, and able to judge the thoughts, joints and marrow, and able to judge the thoughts and intentions of the heart. And there is no creature hidden from his sight, but all are naked and laid bare before the eyes of him whom is our account. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Yeshua the Son of Elohim, let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who is tried in all respects as we are, apart from sin. Therefore, let us come boldly to the throne of favor in order to receive compassion and find favor for timely help. Chapter 5. For every priest taken from among men is appointed on behalf of men in matters relating to Elohim, to offer both gifts and offerings for sins, being able to have a measure of feeling for those not knowing and being led astray, since he himself is also surrounded by weakness. And on account of this, he has to suffer for sins as for the people, also for himself. And no one obtains this esteem for himself, but he who is called by Elohim, even as Aaron also was. So also the Messiah did not extol himself to become high priest, but it was he who said to him, "You are my son, today I have brought you forth." As he also says in another place, "You are a priest forever according to the order of Melchizedek, who in the days of his flesh, when he had offered up prayers and petitions with strong crying and tears to him who was able to save him from death, and was heard because of his reverent fear. Though being a son, he learned obedience by what he suffered. And having been perfected, he became the causer of everlasting deliverance to all those obeying him, having been designated by Elohim a high priest according to the order of Melchizedek, concerning whom we have much to say, and hard to explain, since you have become dull of hearing. For indeed, although by this time you ought to be teachers, you need someone to teach you again the first elements of the words of Elohim, and you have become such as need milk and not solid food. For everyone partaking of milk is inexperienced in the word of righteousness, for he is a babe. But solid food is for the mature, whose senses have been trained by practice to discern both good and evil. Shalom.